On 17 April 2002, 4 Canadian soldiers were killed and 8 more wounded when an American fighter dropped a 500-pound bomb on their night training activity. On this NSP short, Alastair Luft provides a first-hand account of this important part of Canadian military history, the friendly fire incident, Tarnak Farms in Afghanistan.
What Tarnak Farms, I think, has become known for, what had happened was, as things became more, not certain, but more established within Afghanistan. So the airfield was protected, and I think it was very well, after a month or two, it was pretty well established that there wasn't going to be any Taliban assault on Kandahar airfield. And this is post-op Medusa as well. There became a task in eastern Afghanistan. So on coast, I think there was a special forces detachment that was operating out of a safe house in coast and needed basically some security for the base that they were operating in. So there was a company task that was that fell to our battalion to go in and provide security for this special forces detachment, an ODA. So our company was doing that, and as part of that, we, were going through some additional training. We had received night vision optics for our anti-armor weapons, so for the Carl G, and also we had received Mark 19, so the grenade, the automatic grenade launcher, or we had the personnel one, so still like a section or a squad weapon,
okay,
as opposed to the vehicle mounted one,
right.
So we were learning how to use that weapon because we'd never seen it before. Anyway, so we ended up at Tarnak Farms one night to do a night firing range. With primarily it was, I think, to work on our night optics with our anti-armor weapons, but we also were taking it as an opportunity to, again, just do some training with the sections and the people. So what we had done that night, we had set it up. We did some night CQB. And then we had set it up so that each section commander was going to go through a platoon static range, but with the platoon weapons that attached. And it was really an opportunity for them to, have some additional resources attached to them and see how they perform. What had happened that night was, because we had the Mark 19, my platoon warrant stayed back in camp to brush up on the Mark 19 because he was going to be instructing a class the next day to everybody in terms of how do we use this thing. So he stayed on camp, and so I went, and then it was the 3 section commanders. And Kevin, what he had told me kind of before we left was we'd had an issue doing ranges before where guys weren't restocking with the same amount of ammunition that they had on the range. So they'd come in with whatever their allocation was, and they wouldn't bomb up to the same amount. So they'd be short a mag or something like that.
Okay. When they went back to CAF, they'd be short, light. They'd be light. Okay.
Yeah, you go to the range and you fire off 10 mags and only take like 8 worth or whatever back or something. So I know we'd been having that problem, and it sounds dumb, but these are the kind of real problems that the platoons sometimes have, right? So Kevin, before we left, the last thing he said to me, I think, was he's like, "Sir, make sure those sections get their ammo and are rebombed and come back with everything they're supposed to have." So I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." I'm like, "I got it. This is easy." So we went and we did our ranges, our CQB lanes that we did. And then we had moved into this section range, and we had one section. So mine was the second platoon to go. So it was it would have been 9 serials. The first platoon ran through its 3 serials. Then it was my platoon. We did 1 serial, and then I walked out with the section to the firing line, which is in a wadi, on the edge of a wadi, and then we walked back to the admin area to get the second section to walk up. And instead of walking back out to the firing line with the second section, I stayed in the admin area to make sure that the first section that had just fired got all their ammunition and were being fully restocked with what they needed. And in the interim, while I was doing that, with the CQ, obviously, I missed the second section that had gone up. And because it was nighttime or a live fire range, I'm like, I'm not going to walk up on them in the middle of the night. I'll walk off to the side of I'm going to walk off to the side of the range, and if everything's fine there, I'll kind of link up with them there. But I'm not just going to come up with them, while they've already gone off and they're shooting. And so when I did that, I walked off, for a little bit, and then maybe I guess it would have been like maybe 100, maybe 150, maybe 100, 150 meters or so away from where they were. I ended up meeting like one of our pioneers who was attached to us, and we were just having just a range conversation. It was a really nice night. It was April, so it wasn't super hot. Like, we know Afghanistan in the summer gets brutally hot or whatever like that, but it was just a really nice night. And we were just, shooting the breeze or whatever like that. And I think we had just kind of finished our conversation, and I was kind of getting ready to move up and see where the firing was going on. And that's when we saw this, fireball on the firing line where the guys had been shooting. And I remember, like, my initial thoughts were just really confusion, because it didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense why, what that was, or what could have caused this massive explosion that was on the firing line. It was like, I don't know. I don't think it didn't occur to me. I know the one of the gunners on the Carl G told me afterwards that his immediate thought was that they'd had a misfire, and that the misfire had exploded, and that's what it was. And that thought never occurred to me. And I don't know if it's just because I didn't assume that was a possibility or not. It was just very foreign. Mm-hmm. And it was just not, I couldn't even place it or figure out what it was. And I think after, me and the pioneer that I've been talking to, we both kind of dropped to the ground or whatever like that. And then we stayed there for a bit, and we're sort of like processing what had happened. And then, and then obviously you started to hear the cries and, like the shouts and stuff like that. And then, I just ran to the location where everybody was, and it's just utter chaos kind of thing. In terms of what we found, obviously, like, the results of dropping a 500-pound bomb on a section and the weapons that are about probably what you would expect. But if anything, the kill radius on that bomb is much bigger. Like, the admin area of the company was within the kill radius, not the kill radius, but certainly the danger area of that bomb. And I think there was only a couple guys that ended up catching shrapnel back in the admin area, just because, in a respect, fortunately, the bomb hit on the side of the wadi, and a lot of the blast was either generated forward away or down into the wadi itself. Mm-hmm. So, clearly super traumatic, but with the potential to be a lot worse.